This week marks 1 year since the first known COVID-19 diagnosis was reported in the U.S. And something that started off as 15 days to slow the spread turned into a year full of face masks, social distancing, strict lockdowns, and quarantine. But now that vaccines are here and getting in wider and wider distribution, it's time to celebrate the beginning of the end of this plague, right? Not so fast. Experts, government leaders, and the media have gained control of the American people in the last 12 months, and they seem determined to keep that control. In her latest op-ed, New York Post columnist Karol Markowicz says we need to beware the experts who are invested in making this abnormal way of life we're living in permanent. She joins us now to discuss. Karol, great piece in the New York Post. Let's start with this one, because there are a few areas we're going to dive into together. And I know you're now somebody that has experienced firsthand the insanity of the lockdowners in New York City. You point out that there's a New York Times piece that talks about, and that quotes a doctor from the American Academy of Pediatrics who said, vaccinated people will still need to wear masks because those with high viral loads could be even worse spreaders. Now, let's just be very clear about this. There are other doctors who will point out that this would be a first in medical history. That being vaccinated so you are safe from the disease would mean everywhere else that you can't give it. You know, if you have the smallpox vaccine, you're not giving people smallpox, right? If you're assuming you don't get infected. So what's going on here?
So it was a New York Times article that came out in December, and I think people just read the headline and that's it. They didn't read the rest of the piece, because in the piece, they break down how something like this could happen. They tested on monkeys, they vaccinated these monkeys, and then exposed them to a massive amount of coronavirus. And some of that coronavirus got stuck in their nose despite them having the vaccine. But it was still far less than an unvaccinated monkey would have had. And again, don't expose yourself to a large amount of coronavirus and you should be good to go. But people just like being afraid, and the hysteria being at an all-time high. And these scientists have become rock stars and they're sort of enjoying it. And it's a real problem that we are being told we won't be able to move on from this.
And there are doctors, I mean, I've seen it, who are saying we really shouldn't be, like the medical profession shouldn't be downplaying the effectiveness of vaccines either. When you're talking about a vaccine that's 95, 96% effective, which the ones that are already out have reached that.
Yeah.
You start to think about what that means for not only the individual, but the chance of you getting infected would be, roughly 4 or 5%. The chance of you getting infected and passing that to somebody else who has the vaccine is an even smaller fraction of that. This is how herd immunity works. But the medical personnel, I mean, the Faucis of the world are saying we can only live in a zero risk from COVID society.
Yeah, I don't know how we got to that, because we've never had zero risk. There's always been risk. There's always been risk from coronavirus. There have been previous coronaviruses, that we never had zero risk from. So absolutely, we've gotten to a place where we can't imagine any level of risk. And the next sort of phase of this is that kids under 12, they haven't even started trials on those kids yet for vaccines. So they might not have vaccines ever. Does that mean that they're wearing masks for the rest of their lives? Well, some scientists are saying, yes, that's exactly what it means. They have to be wearing masks always.
Now, you brought up children. Joe Biden's nomination for a senior advisor, or I guess his pick for senior advisor for his COVID response team, this guy Andy Slavitt, shared recently on Twitter, this was a quote, we should be more careful with kids. They should circulate less or will become vectors, like mosquitoes carrying a tropical disease. Of course they can become sick themselves this way. I'm not sure what I would say about schools besides wishing Trump had built testing up. This is actually anti-science garbage. We have very strong numbers about the truth about children and schools. What does it say, Karol?
Well, that's the thing. Andy Slavitt is not a scientist, and yet he has been taken seriously because he has these long, very hysterical threads on Twitter that the left has sort of bought into. At one point, he lives in like the suburbs and he has a car. At one point, he advocated shutting down all public transportation all across the country. Well, sure, why not? It doesn't affect him. But yeah, he's not somebody that we should be listening to, and he is a hysteric, and he puts these hysterical opinions out onto Twitter and gets applause for it. And somehow now he might be in the Biden administration. It's very concerning because his ideas are crazy. In any other situation, we would recognize that. But because we're in this COVID mania where we got to keep people safe, we got to keep people safe, we got to keep people safe, he becomes a rational voice, and he's just not.
There's also this Professor Gavin Yamay, who's an MD, MPH. I've noticed the really cool blue check MDs, they need something beyond the MD, right? MD, PhD, MD, MPH, right? They've got to throw all the credentials, so we're supposed to listen to whatever lockdown, which is policy, which is politics, whatever lockdown nonsense they come up with. But this professor says, first, we need to get serious about high filtration masks for all. You all saw Mitt Romney on Wednesday night. He had a tightly fitting N95 mask under his cloth mask. That's what every single American should have. Karol, I have been saying on Twitter for months that we are going to get to a point where they say we need double masks, and it actually needs to be N95 masks, and has been all along. People went crazy on me for this, so that I don't know what I'm talking about. Here we are. Gee, how did I see this coming?
Right. I was in Manhattan in December, and I saw 3 separate people wearing 2 masks, and I was like, whoa, what is happening? But I knew it was coming because I had seen it was like 2 people in one neighborhood and then 1 person in another neighborhood. And once you see 3, you sort of know it's going to be a trend. And it's been scary because, again, just like you, people said to me, oh, stop scaring people, stop fear mongering. A lot of the stuff that I say, people say, oh, stop fear mongering, but like, it ends up happening. And the 2 masks thing absolutely was coming. And as I say in the piece, why 2? Why not 3? Why not 5? Why not 8? If 2 is safer than 1, I mean, certainly you could be wearing 8 masks.
I think we need to start shaming all the people who walk around without goggles on, because viruses can also enter your system through your ocular cavity or whatever. And so if you're serious about this, you got to have a double mask, N95, and goggles, and probably gloves, and don't leave your house. Thanks, Dr. Fauci. One more thing. Go ahead.
8 masks or bust.
Yeah, I mean, the more masks you wear, the more serious. If you wear it alone in your car, then you're a serious person about this virus, right? Because you're stopping the spread of virus that you probably don't even have by the numbers. But anyway, if you do have it, you're stopping spreading it into open air, driving 60 miles an hour with no one else around you. So that's really good to know. Right now, as I talk to you, my father is trying to get vaccinated here in New York City. And there's an additional sense of urgency for all, he's in that higher age category, higher risk category. Yeah. And I've been encouraging him to get that vaccine as soon as possible because I actually do believe in the science. And there's this urgency because of the concern that New York may run out. They haven't even gotten, they haven't even had a full week yet of over 75 vaccinations for people over 75. Here's de Blasio saying this for New York City.
At the rate we are going, we will begin to run out on Thursday. This Thursday, 2 days from now. And we will have literally nothing left to give as of Friday. If we don't get more vaccine quickly, a new supply of vaccine, we will have to cancel appointments. This is crazy. This is not the way it should be. We have the ability to vaccinate a huge number of people. We need the vaccine to go with it. I'm very hopeful the Biden administration is going to fix a lot of this. They're just coming into office, of course. It's going to take time, but their commitment is there, and I appreciate that deeply.
This is crazy, but how could this be? They're running out of vaccine already? What's going on here?
Well, I mean, among other problems, New York has thrown out a large number of vaccines because they had a very strict policy about who could get vaccinated, and they couldn't step outside of that line. That blame falls squarely on Governor Cuomo, who said that he would fine individual doctors if they were found to be giving out vaccines, even if they were about to go bad. It didn't matter. So a lot of this is absolutely just ineptitude. The idea that Joe Biden is going to come in and solve this is questionable.
This is delusional.
His commitment is to 100 million vaccines in 100 days. Now, I'm not great at math, but we're at around 1 million vaccines a day now. So he will keep doing what we're doing for the next 100 days.
In fact, there will be 250 million doses that have been distributed based on the current rate
Right.
by 100
Right.
days. So he will have gotten less than half of the actual distributed vaccinations done in 100 days. Congratulations,
That's right.
Joe. But I mean, if he remembers to keep his pants on when he walks out to the podium, we're all supposed to clap and think he's a genius. But anyway, Karol, great piece in the New York Post. Thanks so much for standing strong on this one. We appreciate it. Hey, Team Buck, just want to say thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more great content from The First, please click that subscribe button.